You will see her on your screen now. Fowzia will be moderating the first energy track session or panel discussion titled Policy, Regulations and Governance of the Energy Sector in Pakistan. The conversation would revolve a lot on, what are the opportunities that are present in this sector in Pakistan, and what are some of the critical skills that the young graduates and young professionals or even mid-career professionals need to have to be able to, be able to access job opportunities in the policy and regulation sector of Pakistan. We also have amazing other speakers from SNGPL, from WAPDA, from a board member of a Diamer Basha Dam, and as well as from Sindh Solar Project in Government of Sindh. So with that, what I will do is I will step off this virtual stage and hand over to Fowzia so that her speakers can join in this virtual stage. Hi, Fowzia.
Hello. Hi, can you hear me?
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry. Welcome, everyone. Sorry, I didn't unmute, but welcome to the Policy, Regulations, Governance of the Energy Sector, Opportunities and Critical Skills session. This is the first session of this amazing STEM Forward 2020 that we are having. And we've invited a fantastic panel of distinguished practitioners. These practitioners have worked in the energy sector field, and they've either defied the norms by entering it, or they've been champions and been instrumental in helping women in their careers in this sector. They will actually share the strategic insight on the job opportunities in the sector, as well as the critical skills need, and why it's just not engineers, but having a multidisciplinary education in public policy, law, economics is critical for the energy and power sector. Just to let you know that research does very clearly show that reforms and policies empower women and boost economic growth. We all know that. Pakistan itself is in the midst of an energy transition. The country has committed to about 30% of renewable energy by 2030. Combined with hydropower, it will be about 60 to 65% of the mix, energy mix. There are almost 40 gigawatts of planned and under construction wind and solar hydropower plants in the country. Now, this growing renewable energy sector actually gives us the opportunity, regardless of what gender we are. This is a new and agile industry, and the environment provides us generational opportunity to develop and reskill a more diverse and inclusive workforce. Women need to be part of this transition. It is essential. Women need to be part of this, and this is the opportunity where platforms like what we're having today, STEM Forward 2020, is going to help us women. And we are, the distinguished panelists will also guide us into that. However, what we are seeing that professional women, they face many obstacles in the energy sector. And, we have concerns like the glass ceiling, sexual harassment, limited training, networking opportunities are not that great. And these factors directly impact the job pool of qualified women. Studies further show that there's only 4.6% of technical positions in Pakistan energy sector that are occupied by women. I think it's very critical that we discuss why. Why do we have such a low participation? What are the barriers that these women are facing? And what is it that we in our various positions can do to help? So today we will discuss how energy companies in Pakistan are improving the conditions for women in the workplace, how we look at the, looking for equal pay, and what career progression we have in the energy sector, especially in the context of the green energy transition. So without further ado, I have 4 very, very distinguished panelists, and I will like to introduce them. Myself, I haven't introduced myself yet. I have the honor of moderating this session. My name is Fowzia Hassan, and I work as a senior energy specialist in the World Bank. I myself have worked in many countries and many projects where I've promoted female participation in technical fields, especially the energy field. In Pakistan itself, I have worked in the energy sector for more than 20 years. I was working in Pakistan when we were building Qazi Barota. I was involved in the mitigating challenges of Kalabagh Dam. And more recently, I have worked on the Sindh solar project. I led the CASA 1000 regional project, additional financing for Pakistan. I am involved right now in the Asu hydropower project and also working with NECA, which is the National Energy Efficiency Conservation Authority, on drafting their first energy efficiency policy for Pakistan. Let me introduce to you Roohi Khan. She's the chairperson of SWE Northern Gas Pipelines Limited, and I believe she is the only woman on the board. Roohi has an MBA from IBA Karachi, and she completed her bachelor's in economics and mathematics from Punjab University. She herself has 36 years experience, out of which 20 years in the senior management level, which is very rare for Pakistani women to be in. Roohi has held positions of chief executive, chief operating officer, and has been a director on boards of various financial institutions. In these capacities, she's been dealing with policymaking, strategic planning, system refinements, implementation of control functions, and restructurings and mergers. She has constantly devoted time over the past 30 years to various social sectors, institutions working for betterment of the poor, and is an advocate of improving the fate of deprived, mainly by catering to the basic rights to health, education, and equal opportunity for all. Shall I introduce the rest of the panelists as well? Okay. So let me go ahead and introduce to you Brigadier Shoaib Taqi, who is retired, but he is now working in WAPDA as the General Manager, Human Resources Department. He has a Master's in International Relations and an MS in Peace and Conflict Studies from National Defense University. Shoaib had the honor of serving as the Defense Attaché in Sudan, and the unique honor of being the only Pakistani who was conferred with the National Medal of Sudan. Serving in WAPDA, he's an expert on land acquisition and resettlement issues and policy making. And he is an avid activist for women empowerment and women's rights. Fiza Farhan, our young, very upcoming female. She's a global strategic development advisor. She's a member of the UN High-Level Panel on Women. She's represented Pakistan twice in the US magazine Forbes 30 Under 30. She's studied at Harvard University. She's got her MSc from Warwick Business School in United Kingdom. And she's a strong advocate towards national and global advocacy of women economic empowerment and inclusive growth of opportunities. I mean, I can go on and on about her. What I would like, she's also a co-founder of the Baksh Foundation. What I would like to also bring to your attention is she has the honor of being appointed as the first female on the board of the Diamer Basha Dam project, which promises to be the highest REC dam project. And it's with a capacity of 45,000 megawatts of energy for Pakistan. And lastly, but not leastly, Engineer Mehfooz Ahmed Qazi, who I know very well. Qazi Saab's been a registered professional engineer for PEC. He's graduated in electric engineering with a master's degree in energy management. His background is very versatile in the Pakistan energy sector. Starting with the Karachi Electric Supply Corporation, he established the Energy Conservation Department with KE, which resulted in a record achievement of 3 megawatts of power saving through energy conservation techniques in 1 year. He has been the Deputy Chief Engineering Advisor for Power and in WAPDA. He's worked in the energy wing of Ministry of Planning, Development and Reform, and then he's also worked in many other places. And right now he is presently working as the project director of the Sindh Solar Energy Project. This is funded by the World Bank. So this is a very distinguished group of panelists we have. And with this, I would like to start questions. Just to give you the logistics, I will ask questions with the panelists, and please feel free to send your comments. If we cannot respond to your comments right now, we will try to do them later on. So Roohi, if you are there, I will ask you the first set of questions. Roohi, can you hear me? While we are waiting for Roohi to join, Shoaib, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, Fowzia.
Good morning. It is actually morning here. It's just a little past midnight. Thank you. Nice seeing you again virtually. So my question to you, Shoaib, is that you have been a champion for We Power, and we've worked together.
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? So anyways, yeah, Shoaib, I'm sure you can hear me. So can you please share with us, what is it that WAPDA at a national level is doing to attract talented women engineers to WAPDA projects? And what policies have you found to be the most impactful for female job seekers, professionals, and what skills do you look for WAPDA business to expand?
Thank you very much, Fowzia, and initiator of the VPAR for having me to speak on this. It's always a pleasure seeing you.
इसकी आवाज नहीं आ रही, किसी को भेजे.
I can hear Shoaib. We can hear Shoaib, Haji.
Okay. Regarding your question, there are two policies, which I think brought a sea change in Pakistan as far as the women empowerment is concerned. That's the Anti-Harassment Act, which was passed by the government, and especially the Women Empowerment Package, which was given. And I am very.
ये तो full है ना.
असल में ना आपकी तरफ से हो गया. अभी उन्होंने उस तरफ.
I'm sorry, Shoaib. We have a little disturbance. Can all the rest of the panelists please mute for now?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is that these policies by the government of Pakistan, I think they brought a sea change, and otherwise as well. Another good positive thing which helped in women empowerment.
अब क्या करिए?
It was a 10%
Your
quota.
उन्होंने
All
लिखा है
recruitment to all government departments was specified for the women. Now, other than giving the equal opportunities to the women to apply for any post, because they are not gender specific once we advertise, especially the WAPDA and as per the government policy as well, there are specific 10% quota. And what we ensure at WAPDA is that if because of any reason, if
उन्होंने
quota
सबने
is
ही
not
अपने
filled
जो माइक ऑफ
to
किए
any
हुए हैं, ये
particular
साइन
vacancy,
नजर आ रहा है।
so that is kept vacant. That has to be filled. It is in a past there used to be practices where they used to readjust that quota because especially if it's related to a vacancy which is in a very remote area and they know that the women are not going to come to those
डिस्कनेक्ट करके
slots, those vacancies. But we
डिस्कनेक्ट करूं पर
आंटी डिस्कनेक्ट कर
instead of readjusting it, we focused on that let's make the environment conducive where the women feel comfortable. And to start with, I mean, we carry out sort of an in-house analysis that what are those factors, what are those reasons which are impeding the women coming into WAPDA, into our specific to the power sector. And then we realized that there are, I mean, if we make few of the jobs specific to women, I mean, we have like an institution like WAPDA, which is basically has 4 distinct wings. Water wing, which deals with development projects, and those are in remote, and the culture, and because they are remote areas, they are far flung areas, they still have those tribal and those cultures which are very conservative, the practices where the woman doesn't have much representation. So, and the education over there, overall in Pakistan is very low, but I can tell you in an area like Chalas where DBD is,
आपकी आवाज मुझे
there is like
आपकी आवाज
4%,
connected
2.3%
again,
women
but I can't hear
education
anybody.
quota. So we thought that okay, so what we did even in DBD, we started like programs like where we encourage women. The first thing we did was the women's schools. We upgraded those schools. We provided those. I mean, if there was no toilet and the basic facilities, and these comes to the core basic facilities, we address those so that to start addressing those where the women can come to those areas. So the second part of your question, what are those fields? As I was saying, that it is now we have a water wing where civil engineers are required, only civil engineers because it is the development stage of a project. But once it goes to the O&M, once the project is completed, we need basically electric and electronic engineers, and the working environment changes as well. By then, even that project in a remote area, but now we have our colonies, we have secure environment, we have schools, basic health education, and even the accommodation for the male and female, even the family accommodation. So those things helps where the woman can come, and where we focus that in these fields, especially electronics and electrical engineers, female, they can be encouraged to join, and we have started getting the positive results as well. The third wing, as you know, is a finance wing. Now, finance, very far that field is where the women can be given good opportunities, and they can be encouraged to join those. The last one is the administration, which comes under me as a GMHR. We have various slots from grade 17, 18, 19 as AD, deputy directors, assistant directors. Then we have the DGs. Now, you'll be glad to know one of my DGs
Shoaib, I think we're losing you. I cannot hear you anymore. Shoaib, can you hear me? Okay, let's see if we can get Shoaib to connect again, because I think he's been disconnected. I believe Roohi Khan is now available and with us on this panel. Am I correct? Assalamu alaikum, Roohi. Can you hear me? Roohi, can you hear me? Okay. I'm sorry, these are technical issues that we knew would happen. When you have everyone around, so many people connecting from all over the world. So let me move to Fiza. Fiza, are you there? Can you hear me? Fiza Farhan?
I can hear you, Fowzia.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Very
Fine,
well. How are you doing?
Fiza, you are a shining example for our young women in Pakistan. The women aspire to come into the energy sector, and you're an example for them. Can you tell us from your experience what skills should be taught in our education system to attract young women into the STEM and energy fields, especially if they want to work in these big energy projects?
Yeah, okay. So thank you, Fowzia. This subject is very close to my heart because as a practitioner earlier, when I was the CEO of Baksh Foundation and Baksh Energy about a decade and a half ago, I used to be the only woman in a room when we were doing any kind of energy discussions, right? Not just the only woman in a panel, I used to be the only woman in a room, in a building at times as well, which was, which was not very easy. And lots of glass ceilings had to be broken every day. And, lots of times I questioned, have I chosen the wrong sector? Is it for me or not? I'm glad I kind of stuck to it and had a whole team of engineers who were all men and kept going on. And it so happened that when my kind of perception changed, when I went on this delegation from Pakistan to Denmark, and there were 10 companies from Pakistan, energy companies, and 10 companies from Denmark, and I was still the only woman in the entire delegation. So there was no woman from Denmark's side as well. And that kind of just, I kept questioning, what is wrong? Where are the women? And then I looked into universities, the academia part, like how are we doing this with the skill set? It's not that bad. 40%, 30% of the graduates of your engineering schools, your IT schools are women. But then where are they disappearing? So then I kind of consciously started working on this within my team, within the teams of other competitors. We came up with this formal and informal exchange of profiles. Just to get more and more women out. I started talking to universities a lot because when I kind of evolved in my professional career, I had the title or the authority to engage other stakeholders to talk more about, having a more gender neutral sector as far as energy and STEM is concerned. And I think in all these years, we've come a long way, I must say. I'm seeing lots of leaps and bounds in the energy space. I'm seeing lots of opportunities, lots of prioritization being given to female candidates. I was at NEPRA 2 days ago and a meeting with the chairman. And I was surprised to see that he invited all his senior staff to come and meet. And 40% of them were female. So he has doubled the numbers in NEPRA. Now they had 40 women working in NEPRA at senior positions. They were thinking of a daycare center. So things are evolving, things are changing. I'm engaged with this other power systems improvement activity project with USAID. And we have an all-female team from RTIDC, all female, technical, non-technical, everybody's female. So I'm seeing lots of positive things happening now. And I really think the industry has evolved from the time when we started. And I think there's a lot of room and space now for young girls to enter and for women to grow up the ladder. There is still a gap of skill set, competencies, capacity building, which exists in any field, right? And that needs to be built up for all kinds of professionals. But it's definitely, we're heading in a good direction as far as the nexus is concerned between women and energy and STEM.
Fantastic, thank you. Just to tell you that when I started in the energy sector, which was 20 plus years ago, believe me, I was the only woman sitting in the entire room as well. And I questioned too, where are the rest of the women? But when I did question that, at that point, they used to laugh. But now they don't laugh. So, it wasn't too long ago, since you are giving me the same experience, that the system has changed now.
Yeah.
Now, tell me something. Since you managed to do this and enter the field, tell us more about your story. How is it that you achieved your career goals?
So, as I said earlier, it used to be very intimidating. I'll be honest. Walking into a room of 100 men, sitting on a panel alone, sitting on in an organization, being the only woman in the building, not having access to any female toilets, small challenges. Like nobody considered to have a female toilet because no woman comes in the building, right? So like these kind of things really get to you when you're out there, when you're trying to establish yourself. And my challenge was, I was not just a woman, I was also the youngest professional in the room. So one, you're trying to contest your age, and then you're trying to contest your gender, and you're, kind of wanting to give up at every moment. But then I, because of the nature of the work, and I was so kind of enthusiastic about solving that energy challenge for Pakistan, there was so much opportunity in the sector, from macro IPPs, which we launched, to commercial sector solar plants, to off-grid projects, which later became internationally certified best practices. The opportunity was overwhelming. And I kind of just kept going and going. And I now tell this to young girls out there when I do my inspirational talks and mentorship sessions. We didn't have that back nowadays. We didn't have mentoring. We didn't have counseling. We didn't have other women coming and telling us that, it's okay. We've been through this. You'll get through it and you'll come out stronger than before. So I do a lot of that now. And I tell them that once I realize that I need to focus on my own professional competence, so people take me seriously rather than a young woman who's out there for a bit and then she's going to get married away. So, work on your professional competence, leave your gender aside, leave your age aside, and just sit there as a professional. Talk like a professional, know what you know like a professional, upgrade your professional competence. And only then, being the youngest woman in the room will become your strength rather than your weakness, So now when I'm on a panel and I'm the only woman in the room, when I'm speaking with the president of the Asian Development Bank at the Clean Energy Asia Forum, being the only woman on the Diamer Basha Dam project, that is my strength. And I have the authority in place now to kind of make room for other women to come through, and create a more gender sensitive ecosystem. So it's just about, I think it starts from the individual, and it really begins by taking yourself as a professional and not letting your gender come in the way. Once you decide that, the industry is way more open now. Mindsets have changed now. In NEPRA, I saw children running around the chairman's office outside. And I asked, who are these children? And they said, "Ji, wo madam hoti hain, teesre floor pe unke bacche aate hain." Sweet. We didn't have that back then, So it's really, it's a much lesser struggle now, but the women out there just need to realize that this is a whole untapped industry for them to explore. And there are lots of opportunities for women out there in this, if they decide themselves to head out like a professional, being competent and strong.
Yes, I hope people who are listening are actually taking these notes down of how we have to conduct ourselves, very professionally. Let me ask you just one more question. Now that you mentioned that you're on the Diamer Basha project, you're on the board. How do you advocate for the gender agenda? And basically, how many women staff are part of the Diamer Basha project, and do you find that there are issues like harassment in the workplace or in the field? And if there is, there's a high chance there is, how do they overcome them? What are the policies and facilities that are, put in for these female staffs?
Right. So, Fowzia, I obviously work on two different streams, right? And on multiple projects. So gender is one stream and climate change is another. And then there's always a nexus between the two. So harassment and kind of the problems working women have when they go out of their house to work, from mobility to harassment to unfair pay advantages, lots of things. They happen in every sector, right? They happen in the corporate sector, they happen in the energy sector, they happen across the board. So that's a separate challenge that needs to be resolved, and I'm working on different projects for that, including the Male Champions of Change project that I launched with the Australian government in Pakistan. Now, in the energy space, what am I going to do to enhance the gender ratio is obviously when I'm sitting in a certain position now, and this is what I do not just for Diamer Basha, but for any position of action or advocacy like the UNFCCC or Baksh Energy, my own enterprise, is basically to, one, make employment gender sensitive, to give a chance, equally competent chance to women
to try to, and this is what we're doing with the Power Systems Improvement Activity Project too, consciously sourcing females out there, because there is female talent out there. You just need to headhunt them a bit stronger. They're just not sitting at the top of the froth of the cup. You just have to kind of sit down a bit. But if you make an effort, you will find the right professionals who are women and give them the opportunity they deserve. So that's what I'm trying to do, kind of deep dive into it and get more and more women, give them the opportunity. And then also with the communities, just like my Roshna Bibi back in the days with Lighting a Million Lives, which became an international best practice, I'm trying to create a nexus between women's economic empowerment and access to energy in the villages we work in as well, and making that a key component of our off-grid projects. Because I feel a great opportunity for women's economic livelihood in off-grid areas. So wherever you can, just try to mainstream gender throughout the nexus, because we are 50% of the population, right? So it's just a logical formula.
Fantastic, Fiza. Thank you very much. It's very inspiring to hear you. And I'm sure me being where I am, if I'm inspired, the people who are listening to you right now on this forum are going to be very inspired as well. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I think Shoaib is back online, and I can pick up with him.
I'm there too. I think you can hear me now.
Yes. Hi. Hi, Roohi. How are you?
I'm sorry. I was trying to do it on my, like, a bigger screen so that I don't have to, keep on doing, use my tab, but it didn't work there. So I went back to my tab, and now I have to somehow adjust it so that I can talk on it.
Thank you. Shoaib, if you're there, I'll come back to you. So Roohi, let me start. I actually was going to start with you, and then we had this technical problem. But so I'm going to ask you a set of questions that I'd like my audience to actually take down and listen to, because you are one of the role models for our young women in Pakistan. And for me, I'd like to know, share with us. I would like to hear your story as well, and how you achieved your career goals. How did you come about doing that?
Okay, I think what I'll do is that I was thinking how to go about it. So I'll just tell something about myself.
Okay.
And in the context of women in an organization or in energy sector, I'll start with the Sui Northern Gas Pipelines Limited, where I am right now on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And then generally we'll talk about what's happening in the energy sector, and then any questions that you may have.
Okay,
so
sure.
About myself, I think all I can say is I've been very lucky that I've always been encouraged and, backed by my parents, then my husband, then my in-laws, which is a very rare thing, I think. But I've been very lucky like that. So I have always been working. After I graduated, I did my MBA from the Institute of Business Administration, Karachi. And how I went there was also a big story, because they weren't taking women. And they were saying that women just come there and they come and get married and then they go away and they waste a seat. So sorry, we'll not take you.
Right.
So after a lot of persuasion, and they interviewed me twice, and there were 3 other ladies with me, and we were taken in as, let's say, an experiment. So we did quite well. I won in the first semester. I topped. So they said, okay, so then that means that they can take this heat from in MBA, the course that they were running. So I think that encouraged a lot of women. Then they have taken it, and now it's the IBA program is full of women, and I'm very glad about it. So that's how I started over there. And after doing my MBA, again, I did my MBA in 76, right? So at that time, there were very few women who were working. And especially in the banking sector, there were very few women. I started my career with banking. And I remember, again, over there, we were given very tough jobs so that we run away after feeling the stress. But I think we sort of took the stress and proved something to the organization. And now again, then later on they started taking women. So I'm very glad that it wasn't a conscious effort on my part. It's just that I wanted to do something. And I'm very glad that it opened ways for other women to enter the banking sector or other sectors. And I'm very, again, I would say that I've been very lucky. Like they say that men don't allow you to come up. That is, I don't know how true that is, but to a certain extent. But I have always been encouraged because I've been taken on various boards when I was young and working, and I had no problem. I remember one day I got a call from SCCP chairman, and he said, "We want a woman on the Lahore Stock Exchange board." And I said, "Okay." And I went there, and there were lots of things to be done there, which we all together, the team, the directors there, the board, we were able to do a lot of changes we made. So that way, I think I've been very lucky, I should say, because I know this doesn't happen with everybody. So no credit to me. It's just that God has been very kind, I should say. So I've been a director on various companies on leasing and commercial banking and investment banking and various other banks. I've been on the board because I think there were no women. So I was there, and so I was nominated. So again, no credit to me. It's just that I was there. The opportunity was there. So I just took it. But one thing is there. Only thing about me I can say is that I've always been very sincere with whatever I do. And I try and contribute in whatever manner, not only for women, but for the country, for the institution I'm working for. And generally, I just want some well-being around me and in the society. I've been working on the side, on the social side also, whatever contribution I can make. And right now, I'm also working with the Shirkat Gah, if you've heard the word, if you heard the name of this NGO, which is working for the welfare of women. And they're doing really good work. They've been there for like 40 years, although I started working with them recently. But it's been a very good exposure for me. And I'm very glad that and then they go into the underdeveloped areas, the villages, and they go and create awareness about women's rights, about health, about safe abortion, about various aspects. They are trying to, like, they got their identity, these CNIC cards made, and they've been educating, bringing them out, and the women in whoever they have got in touch with, there's a demonstration effect. And I'm so sure that the entire village then gets, you can say, when they benefit from this exposure. So that way, I got closer to women's rights and all that by working with this NGO. And otherwise, in organizations where I worked for example, here in SNGPL, I have been on the committee. I was actually heading it, which was looking at the promotions last year. And out of like 20 odd people we were interviewing, there were just 2 women who came. And my committee with me, they were saying, okay, we can look at the women next year. So I said, no, if you don't promote 1 woman, at least out of 2, then I'm not approving any promotions. So 1 woman got promoted. So right now, I was now consciously thinking that I'm going to get all the women together in this organization, and I want to talk to them and find out what their problems are. There's one woman who came to me with some problem, but then I thought that I should get them together and let them feel that I'm there. And if they have any problem, then I'll be there to help them out, definitely. And so that is how it is. Like, basically about myself, if anybody wants to know, I've been very sincere with whatever I do. Nothing great about that. I think everybody should be sincere. I try and work hard. I remember that I worked from, like, when I used to go to office, I never used to think that I have to go home quickly, 5 o'clock, let's go. No, I try to finish off the maximum, even if it, and if there was some urgent things to do, I've sat till 3 o'clock in the morning in the office, and late quite often. So because I had to compete with men, you see, if other men are listening, please, I'm sorry, I don't mean to undermine anybody, but you know, you have to. And so I think on the way, I have been rewarded also, if you want to put it that way. So good journey so far. And then my main thing is that my parents always encourage me, my father especially, then my husband, my in-laws. So I'm very glad, and God has been kind to give me so much opportunity in life.
You are very, very humble after achieving all of this and saying that it just happened. I know there's a lot of hard work went behind all of this. Let me just throw out another question to you. In your opinion, and this is for the audience that is listening to this panel, in your experience, what do you think are the critical skills that women should be looking into developing if they want to join your company?
First of all, let me tell you that women or men, I think women should not think of themselves as women. We are women and we should have this skill or that skill. I think you should think of yourself as a human being who should have skills to prove themselves. Like, for example, you should try and listen and not feel that you're being criticized. Like most of the women, if they are criticized about anything, or suppose they have made mistakes and somebody points it out to them, they start crying. So that kind of a thing should not be there. You should think of yourself as equal to everybody else who's working there. And a lot of men get offended when I say that I don't think of them as men. I think of them as my colleagues. So, so they get very offended. So I said, for me, you are just like women. So that is the way I think one should just look at your colleagues as your colleagues and work with them as friends, and try and be helpful and try and take the criticism and listen to everyone, and open to whatever new information is coming. Your first thing is that you should know how to deal with people. That's the first and foremost skill that anybody should have, men or women. And the second thing is that whatever work you're doing, try and know about that work as much as possible, learn about it, not just from in the office on the job, but otherwise also. Expand your knowledge about that work. That is very important. We actually, most of the people, men, women, whatever it is, they come and they look at the time, 5 o'clock, 5:30, let's go home kind of thing. So have some commitment to whatever job you're doing. That's very important.
That goes for both, right?
I was looking at the organogram. You see, we have about 70% of the people working on the operations side. Operations includes metering and field work, the pipes laying. Sorry, I think I'm just missing out. Something wrong with the.
We can hear you.
Mm-hmm. Could you just repeat your question?
Oh no, it's okay. You were talking. I spoke in between. But go ahead. You were talking about the women in SNGPL.
Well, I was looking at the numbers that I have, and it's a little, I shouldn't say disappointing, but the thing is that I feel it is basically because in Sui Gas, the main job is in the field. We have a transmission line right from like the Punjab province in the south till north, which is 1,000 kilometers. And we have distribution lines also, which are in various villages and all that. So most of the people who are in the, let's say, executive cadre or even juniors, they are working in the field. And I think the problem here is that women do not like to go in the field because of their family, basically children or husband or anything. It's a, sorry to say, man's job kind of thing. Who can, the family's in Lahore, but they can work in Multan, or they can go for 3-4 days, work in the fields. Then the safety and security factor. Although we have the security guards, we have everything in place, but women generally, and I think their families also, would prefer that they don't do this kind of a field job. Although marketing, a lot of women in marketing, they're doing the field job, but I think this kind of a thing where you go into the field in the villages, the pipelines are being laid or being repaired or whatever it is. I think it's most of our people who are mechanical engineers, civil engineers, electronic engineers, and others. They're all working in the field. And I was talking to some the people over here in the HR. I said, why don't you have women in as engineers? They said, we have, but we just give them the job of, like, let's say, quality assurance, or in the internal audit we need, so they'll give somebody who has an engineering background. So I've got the figures here, which is like, they have about executives, they have 1,527 male and 72 females.
Right.
So that is how it is. And overall also gender, 65 women, and including the subordinate staff, out of 2,811, we have 65 women. So I was trying to tell them, they said, we don't mind. We don't mind taking women, but they don't want to work in the field.
But
That's the problem.
True. But that is because they don't feel secure. And we don't have policies. We do have policies, but they are not being implemented where they are provided the security. So, basically that's a huge barrier for the women. And it's not only Pakistan, it's in all our developing countries. But we need to get over that. We need to actually implement these policies, and we need to bring these women out. We need to provide them safety. Thank you very much, Roohi. It's very inspiring to hear you. And I hope the people who are listening to this, the young women and men, are listening. And the common theme that is coming out is that they have to be professionals. The attitude needs to be professional. Shoaib, let me come back to you now. You were talking about how there is a 10% quota for women to be employed in WAPDA. Tell me something. Do you have any policies, or have you gone beyond that 10% quota? What are the requirements that we need to maybe enforce this quota, and then just go a little above it too, because 10% is, in this time and era, 10% is nothing. We're looking for gender parity in the various sectors, and especially in the energy sector. If you go to Europe and all that, we're looking for gender parity, though none of the countries have met that. But what is it in WAPDA that you are doing that is above that quota?
Thank you again.
Fowzia,
Before I exactly answer your question, I just wanna highlight that one of the policies which the analysis which I carried it out. So I realized that for the harassment, especially, the simple solution to that is that more women, less harassment. So the most of the cases of, Alhamdulillah, it was, we investigated it. It was not to be formally processed because of the gravity. It was more of a misunderstanding. But what I'm saying is that where there is one woman, there is less women, there are more possibilities. So one of the to address that is that you bring more women and make it sure that there is no single woman at one office, because now we do it. Even clerical staff, I will put with a female engineer, so that at least there are two in that vicinity, in that office. Second, perspective, is another very interesting thing which I would like to mention. We have like 20% quota for our employees' children.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what happens is that now 20% is a very significant figure for our organization, right? So what happens is, and now we encourage that maximum is implied by the female. And what happens is, because they are from their father or mother who are ex-WAPDA officers or officials, so once they come into WAPDA, they have been brought into the same environment of schools, WAPDA colleges, as a family in WAPDA colony, and there is that 20% quota because their father, mother, and they have been brought up in that environment. So that is one sort of, I think other organization can benefit as well, that this implies children, they feel very much this harassment and this discomforts of the workplace from a gender point of view are minimized to a great extent. Talking to Fiza as well, the DBD, we have, you'll be glad to know, we have a gender specialist in DBD. And she not only has to look for the environment conducive at the workplace, but to as well in about our harassment committee. And the committee, although I am the head, but all other are under me, so that they can easily be accessible by the female employees, so they can, with confidence, with comfort, and share with them. I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we have a little intermittent disconnect, but we can hear you. Thank you very much, Shoaib. I would just one more question I want to talk to you about. So WAPDA has technical colleges, right? Where they have how is it that you're helping women develop the necessary skills that could possibly end up giving them jobs in WAPDA?
Fowzia, the technical college which we have, one we have in Islamabad, which is called administrative. It's more of administrative. It's like a staff college. Where the courses are run, which are prerequisites for various promotions, from junior engineers to XN1, from 17 to 18, 18 to 19, we call it junior leadership, then mid-career management course, and the senior management course. And while what we have done over there is, again, the instructional staff, we have placed females there as well. And then as far as the nominations are concerned, we make it sure that no woman is ever debarred from promotion that she's not qualified. If we have less vacancies, as per our policy, the men can be delayed because there are mostly vacancies are for them. So they can be stopped from one course because of less vacancies, but the female employee has to attend the course. It's a mandatory. Even to be honest, I really had to push 1, 2 to attend it because they were not interested. Okay, sir, we don't need promotion. We are fine with. So I said, no, you have to undergo the course. You have to be promoted. So to that extent, we are cautious about it. Another thing which I think we'll get into it, what we are doing, that even for the initially what was here, we had the selection boards and as well as for the recruitment as well and for promotions as well. Now, I mean, this credit also goes to the VPAR initiative, we're joining it. So we have now made it sure, and it is a notification approved by the authority and issued. In every selection member now, in a board, sorry, a female is must to is a part of the selection, because we realized it at this forum, at the forum, we had a discussions there, and it was realized that it is sometimes the women don't feel comfortable once they see the all men sitting, you know. And I mean, the organization is otherwise men dominating, society is men dominating. You come to the selection and you find well the same atmosphere, right? So and that is very welcomed by the women employees. And another thing which I think can help in terms of the policies, which is special initiative which we have taken, is, I mean, you understand the government have a wedlock policy where the husband and wife has to be one station. Now to implement it, what we have done is that we have almost made it. I mean, there is no exception to that. Husband and wife have to be at one station. Even there is no vacancy for male or female there. So what we are doing is we attach a person to some other place, but we make it sure his pay can be charged to some other post, but he or she will be there where the husband is, or the husband is there where the she is. I mean, so we have to prioritize it. So that's sort of a thing. Besides that, I mean, there is another thing which has helped us to educate men. I have ensured my team that we give the harassment and other aspects lectures to the men, I mean, other than the women, and make them realize that, look, even your simple glaring someone, or, you know, if she's just passing by, you are looking at her, so that also comes into offense. It's a violence. I mean, so you have to respect, and then inculcating the religion teaching into it, that what our religion tells us to respect the woman, because this this narrative have actually have helped. I have used my religious scholars as well, and the people officers, those are religiously oriented, to give these lectures and give to the religion part of it, the perspective of the religion on it. So that has also helped us in and having a zero tolerance policy. If anything reported, has to be taken zero tolerance, so and immediate action. So that's how it has helped.
Thank you so much, Shoaib. It is fantastic to hear of all the initiatives that you have taken. We've been working very closely with you and through WePower, and it is nice to see that, you know, you are actually implementing a lot of the suggestions, and you're a partner with us in this. So thank you so much for that. Now let me move to Qazi Saab. Assalamu alaikum, Qazi Saab. It's been ages since I've seen you. We have worked together a few years ago. So Qazi Saab, you have recently established a project implementing unit, which is the Sindh Solar Energy Project. In your experience, since Sindh Solar is an access project, how can the project better attract women for the professional jobs, especially in the field positions? As we've heard, field positions are a little tough. So what is it that you, in your experience, you find that you can bring the women into the field now?
Thank you, Fowzia. Sorry, my connection was a little bit unstable, but now it is fine. And a Sindh Solar Energy Project is a challenging project. As you see, the energy sector in worldwide is in transformation. From the conventional thermal, nuclear power plants, we are moving to the solar, wind. Once there was one higher generating stations at remote locations providing supply through transmission lines. But now at every rooftop, you have a solar. At every home, you have a small solar kit. So it has changed the dilemma of the power sector. So when we see the demography of our country, 50% population, 48% population as of today is women. In households, the energy utilization, energy consumption is by women. So under this challenging project, we are catering the training needs for the women. They have solar technicians, so operating the solar home, and so on. We have encouraged our solar supplier firms that at least 15% women should be encouraged to be employed at your project. Further, as per Sindh government policy, 15% quota in each sector is for women and disabled. But what happens, their government has their own regulatory instructions and so on. We have just hired our PMU staff. Many women applied, they passed the written test, but due to the government regulations of the official documents, they were unable to join us. Still, we have in our PMU excellent job opportunities for the female. We are just advertising the positions of the auditors, technical advisors, and consumer awareness advocate. We are encouraging the women that they should join our project and help us. So this is for our project. Where you know about the project, if someone needs some additional information, the project has a solar home system component with $30 million. We are creating an enabling environment for the private investments to develop and promote the solar power development in rural areas. 20% of our population has no access to the grid. In these areas, what we are doing, we have selected with the World Bank support, IFC has conducted a satellite-based study where the remote areas in the nightmare, from the nightmare, it was discovered that which parts on the GPS coordinates have darkness whole of the day or whole of the night. Based on those, we have identified 10 districts. In 10 districts, we are providing enabling environment. There will be franchises. We are conducting the trainings, consumer awareness programs, and so on for this project.
And Qazi, my last question. Sorry, Qazi, I think we've lost you.
No, I am in there.
Okay. My last question to you, and then I'll wrap up, is are you looking at hiring women in this, when you're telling us what you're doing, you're going to urban, peri-urban areas or rural areas, whatever. Are you planning on hiring women to help you with these projects?
Yes. As per law regulation, 15% hiring of the women and disabled is already incorporated.
Okay, but fantastic.
Above than that, we are encouraging the women because this one component of the solar home system, right, this is completely dependent on women. If a woman knows how to operate, how to troubleshoot, what is the minor suggestion if the system is not working, if that is enabled, then so that's why we are female solar power technician training program. We are starting with the support of Sindh Technical Education Board. Shahid Benazir Bhutto Youth Development Program has been initiated by Government of Sindh. So with this, we are starting these programs and we are encouraging this. In fact, this component, this project of the solar, because solar is providing on the rooftop for every home. For the rooftop, there we have what I can say, the females are the main custodians of a house, the family. So in each of house, if you have a rooftop solar, who is managing for all of the day or so on? Any troubleshooting? So women has to be par with men to develop, to monitor, to maintain the solar systems. So solar power field, solar technology, I can say it's mostly dependent on women. They are the custodians, they can manage and they can run and they can utilize.
Thank you, Qazi Sahab, so much. Now all the young professional women and men who are listening to this, you know where to go and look for a job. Qazi Sahab is hiring.
Please visit our website. We are giving many opportunities for these positions. Fantastic. And we will encourage the women.
Thank you so much, Qazi Saab. Very inspirational listening to you all. We have unfortunately run out of time, and I know we can keep conversation going. It's such an interesting topic, and it's worldwide. I just wanted to tell you that it's not only Pakistan, but we are trying to do something for Pakistan. And I am so happy that the 4 panelists who are sitting here and talking to the young women, the men who are attending this job fair, that there are people out there who are actually mentors, who are actually providers, and who are champions. I mean, look at Qazi Saab and look at Shoaib. They are champions to help women to come into this field. You have, you have Fiza and you have Roohi, who are, role models who will tell you how to infiltrate into these fields. And then you have your champions sitting over there who are going to help you. So I hope all of you had a very good session. Thank you very much for attending. And from this, I think I will hand it over back to the organizers. Thank you very much once again, everyone. Goodbye.